In the 2010s, photographs from major AI conferences became symbols of a broader concern within the technology industry. Rows of attendees, overwhelmingly male, led commentators to describe some events as a sea of dudes, a phrase that became shorthand for the diversity challenges facing artificial intelligence research. At the simplest level, the phrase described representation. Who was present in the room? Who was absent? And who had access and potential influence? But beneath that surface was a deeper concern. Artificial intelligence systems learn from human-created data, human-created assumptions, and human-created institutions, which means the people building intelligent systems influence the perspectives embedded within them. And that has a marked impact on education, because educational systems already carry tremendous influence over opportunity, evaluation of an individual's ability, and future life outcomes. As AI increasingly participates in assessment, recommendation, and feedback, an important educational question emerges. What happens when intelligent systems inherit the blind spots of the societies that created them? Welcome to the EdTech Curio Cabinet. I'm Christina, and in each curio we explore the evolving world of education through 4 lenses. The artifact, a technology, practice, or idea shaping modern learning. The pattern, the deeper historical forces surrounding it. The paradox, the unexpected tension hidden beneath the surface. And finally, the signal, a glimpse into where education may be heading next. In this curio, we explore the sea of dudes problem and what it reveals about artificial intelligence, representation, and education. Over the past decade, researchers have documented numerous examples of bias emerging within AI systems. Facial recognition systems showed significantly different accuracy rates across demographic groups. Language models reproduced cultural stereotypes found in training data. Hiring algorithms reflected historical workplace imbalances, and image-generating systems reinforced the narrow assumptions around professions and identity. One of the most influential studies in this area was a 2018 paper, Gender Shades, by Bellamini and Gebru. The researchers found substantial disparities in gender classification accuracy across skin tone and gender categories among several commercial AI systems. The study became widely discussed because it illustrated a real powerful reality. Technical systems can inherit human blind spots in ways that appear objective on the surface. Scholar Sophia Noble explored similar themes in Algorithms of Oppression, examining how search systems can reproduce social inequalities through seemingly neutral technological processes. And researcher Caroline Criado Perez later documented many related examples of gender data gaps in Invisible Women. Collectively, these works challenged a popular assumption surrounding AI, that computational systems naturally produce subjective outcomes simply because they rely on mathematics. And these questions become particularly important in educational environments because educational systems impact a student's journey based on its judgments. They decide who receives support, who receives opportunity, who is considered advanced and who is flagged as struggling, and ultimately who gains confidence and who disengages. So if AI is increasingly participating in these processes, representation matters deeply. The sea of dudes problem is not unique to artificial intelligence. Throughout history, institutions have often reflected the assumptions of the people designing them. Medical research offers a powerful example. For decades, many clinical studies relied heavily on male participants. As a result, the classic heart attack symptoms taught to generations of physicians, this crushing chest pain and pain down the left arm, were based largely on cardiac arrests presented in men. Women, however, they often experience different warning signs. Unusual fatigue, nausea, or pain in the jaw and upper back. These symptoms don't scream cardiac arrest to classically trained physicians. When the evidence base is built from a narrow slice of the population, important patterns can remain hidden. This draws us in to recognize that incomplete data can produce incomplete understanding. Now, educational systems themselves contain many historical examples of this pattern. Curricula often emphasize certain histories while minimizing others. In Canada, generations of students learn detailed accounts of Confederation, settlement, and economic development, while Indigenous perspectives, things like treaty histories and the legacy of residential schools, receive far less attention, if any. The resulting history was decidedly incomplete. As additional voices and experiences were incorporated, society gained a fuller understanding of the same events. What we know is often shaped not only by the information we include, but by the information we leave out. Artificial intelligence introduces a new variation of this long-standing dynamic, because unlike traditional institutions, AI systems can scale rapidly and invisibly. Once deployed, algorithmic systems may influence millions of interactions simultaneously. They'll give out recommendations, they'll do evaluations, content rankings, adaptive pathways, and automated feedback. And because these systems often appear mathematically sophisticated, their outputs can carry an aura of neutrality even when the underlying biases remain present. That combination makes educational caution particularly important, especially when intelligent systems begin participating in decisions influencing student trajectories. One of the central promises surrounding the use of machines in operations, and AI in general, is objectivity. It is assumed that machines will reduce human bias. Algorithms would improve consistency, and as such, automation would produce fairer outcomes. And in some contexts, these improvements may genuinely occur. But the paradox is more complicated. AI systems are trained using human-generated data, which means they can inherit historical patterns embedded within society itself. And because these systems operate computationally, their outputs can appear more authoritative than they actually are. A recommendation generated by software may feel objective even when shaped by deeply subjective historical data. This creates a particularly important tension in education. Educational systems already carry immense influence over confidence and opportunity. If intelligent education systems quietly reproduce narrow assumptions around language, behavior, identity, or ability, those effects may accumulate subtly over time. Yet, there is another layer to this paradox. The growing awareness of bias in AI is itself helping broaden participation in the field. Researchers from increasingly diverse backgrounds are contributing to new perspectives to dataset construction, evaluating fairness and accessibility in educational design. In other words, the visibility of the problem is helping reshape the discipline itself. One of the most hopeful signals surrounding AI today is the growing recognition that intelligent systems require broad human perspectives, and that expansion matters. Educational systems influence diverse learners across cultures, languages, developmental stages, and lived experiences. No single perspective can fully represent that complexity. And perhaps one of the most important educational lessons emerging from AI is that the people designing systems shape the systems themselves. Which means diversity within educational technology development is not simply organizational optics. It directly influences how learning environments function. As future generations increasingly learn alongside intelligent systems, educators may help ensure those systems remain inclusive and responsive to human diversity. Because education works best when more learners can recognize themselves within it. And the future of AI-enhanced learning may depend on how many voices are invited into the room when these systems are built. Educational systems have always reflected the society surrounding them. Artificial intelligence does not remove that reality. In many ways, it makes it more visible. As intelligent systems increasingly participate in learning, assessment, and feedback, questions of representation and inclusion become deeply educational questions. Who builds the system matters. Whose experiences shape the data matters. And whose perspectives are present in the design process also matters. Because intelligence alone does not guarantee fairness, human judgment remains essential to it. Artificial intelligence may reshape education in profound ways, but educational systems still inherit human values, assumptions, and priorities. That's why we keep the cabinet open. Thanks for exploring the EdTech Curio Cabinet.